Welcome to the Hidden Corners. Tonight we are going to be reading a story sent in by one of our listeners. I want to give a big thank you to those of you who have sent us stories, and if you'd like us to read your story, you can email it to thehiddencorners.story@gmail.com. The story tonight is called The Old House by E.D. Testerman. Eric's books are available on Amazon, and I'll put the link to his author page in the description so you can check out his site. I want to thank Eric for sending this in to us, and I hope you'll enjoy his story. The Old House. Chris Butler was a 9-year-old boy. He and his family lived near Buffalo High School in Buffalo, Missouri. There was a blue house on the corner of their street, and no one seemed to stay there for long. Every time Chris would go by the old house, chills ran through his body. He did not like how the old house made him feel. He could feel that the place was not right, and he never stuck around for long before fear filled him, and he took off. The school had let out for the summer. Chris and the other kids were riding their bikes all over the neighborhood. They were playing cops and robbers, chasing each other. They rode by the blue house, and Chris stopped. In his head, he heard a girl's voice call out to him, "Come to me." Chris was in a trance. He didn't notice the other kids coming up to him. Rachel touched him on the shoulder, and Chris jumped. "Are you okay, Chris?" asked Rachel. Chris did not answer. He just slowly turned back to the house. Buck laughed. "I will give you $5 if you go in there." Chris ignored him. Chris was focused on the voice. "Come to me," it said again. Buck pushed Chris. Chris spun around quickly and met Buck's gaze. Buck's face turned serious. "Are you a coward? I said I would give you $5 if you go in there." "I'm no coward," bellowed Chris. "Good. Then you will go in there," claimed Buck. Chris slowly turned towards the house. He wanted to go inside, and at the same time, he did not. Chris just stood there and looked at the old blue house. Buck laughed. "I knew you were chicken." They all laughed, except for Chris. They got back on their bikes and rode away. After supper that night, Chris went to his room and turned his laptop on. He started looking over old newspaper articles about the blue house. The house once belonged to an old man named Potter. He was known as the local crazy. He was always chasing kids away. He would yell, "Stay away from my house! It's evil and will kill you! Stay away!" Back on the 16th of December, 1969, the local Buffalo police were called out to Potter's house. He had come home from work and found his wife and daughter drained of liquid and life. Still to this day, it is a mystery. New detectives are constantly trying to solve the case. Once they enter the home, they quit their job and move away. Old Man Potter died in his home on the 13th of July, 1990. They found his remains the same as his family's. Since then, they have tried renting and selling the house. People would move in, and within a week they'd move back out as fast as possible. Priests went into the house and left running and screaming. The bank owns the property now and has it up for sale, well below market value. They can't keep anyone in the home. They tried bulldozing it down, but every time a dozer got close, their equipment would burst into flames. They sent a demolition man in once. Before he reached the porch, his demolitions went off, killing 4 people. Everyone in town knows the place is cursed and tries to stay away. Later that night, Chris was tossing and turning in his sleep. A beautiful girl around his age tormented his dreams. "Come to me, Chris. I want to play a game with you. Come to me." The girl's voice was the same that was calling to him from the house. Chris shot up from his bed. Sweat was pouring off him, and he was breathing heavily. He looked all around his room. He was alone, and that made him feel better. He got up and turned the lamp on his desk. Feeling safer, he went back to sleep. The next morning he got up and ate breakfast. He and the other kids would ride their bikes again today. He cleaned his dishes after he finished eating, and then he ran out the back door. He got onto his bike and rode off. They all met at the park and played for a while. They headed back to their neighborhood after they were done playing. They stopped in front of the blue house again. Chris could hear the voice call to him again. He laid his bike down and walked slowly to the house. The other kids screamed at him not to go in, but he could not hear them. When Chris entered the home, the doors and windows slammed shut, and the other kids could hear Chris screaming inside. It sounded like he was being tortured. Rachel raced back to her house and got her mom. Chris's parents ran up to the front door and started trying to knock it down. They all could hear an evil female laugh coming from within. The Buffalo police arrived, and they were able to bust the door in. Chris's mom let out a blood-curdling scream. There on the floor were the smoky remains of her son, Chris. Chris's dad ran over to his son and tried to pick him up. His remains were hot to the touch. It looked like he had been drained of all his fluids and life. From upstairs came a little girl's voice. 1, 2, I will be seeing you. 3, 4, I crave for more. 5, 6, you all make me sick. 9, 10, never see Chris again. The house started shaking as the girl started laughing. Chris's dad pulled out a book of matches and lit them. He tossed them into a wadded stack of old papers, and they caught instantly. "What are you doing?" cried out the voice. In a matter of seconds, the house was engulfed in flames. They could hear the voice scream out in pain and terror. The whole neighborhood watched as the house burnt to the ground. No one tried to put it out, and they were all relieved to watch it be destroyed. A year later, Rachel was riding by the remains of the old house. She heard a voice in her head, a voice that said, "Come to me. I want to play. Come to me."